tremendous looking trophy.
Hello and welcome to Platinum Explosion and One PlayStation Podcast in the Oceanias. My name's Dylan Blight. Joining me, as always, Ashley Hobley.
Hey Dylan, excited to be here on a day in which news breaks before the episode comes out.
It's crazy. What a concept. It's like we moved the show for that. But
exciting start to our GDC week.
Okay. Yeah, who knows what else could happen. There's a PSVR thing apparently happening. So
crazy news could happen. Probably not, but I mean, maybe something like notable, but not crazy, you know, like let's just aim for, you know, middle ground. Let's aim for notable.
Let's aim for something to talk about, not to shout to the rooftops about. That'd be good. All right, let's start the show with going over what happened last week and why I don't really want to talk about it, but I feel like just not talking about it at all sort of like, I don't know. Like, let's meet in the middle.
you can't get away with not talking about it because then people complain about it.
Yeah, because then they'll be like, why didn't you talk about that? So, obviously, there was the State of Play last week. State of Play focused entirely on, what's it called? Hogwarts Legacy. Is that it? Fuck, I can't remember. Is that the game? Yes. I was like, is there a subtitle? No, it's just Hogwarts Legacy. All right. Yeah, so obviously Hogwarts Legacy was a game. It was revealed ages ago. I don't know, like a year ago. PlayStation did a State of Play for it last week. I don't really know why. I presume because there's going to be some like exclusive thing in the game for PlayStation players, or they can't just be like Warner Brothers. Anyway, Warner Brothers.
I think it's probably it probably is a deal with Warner Brothers.
Yeah,
like like a marketing deal or whatever.
Yeah, you get a wand that looks like a DualSense. I don't know, fucking.
No, but like just a general.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
It's just a general one.
Yeah, make people
just in the same way they would like advertise COD and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So it's like it's the first time they've done a State of Play. Like not obviously Ghostwire Tokyo and Deathloop were exclusive to console on PlayStation. So it was the first time they've done something like that for a third party game, which everyone was like, "Does this mean it's exclusive? Are they paying Warner Brothers?" No, it's just they're doing a deal. Calm down.
Not yet.
Anyway. We're not going to really talk about State of Play because I don't really want to, and for obvious reasons. But yeah, I feel like here's the thing. Like my thoughts are, and if you don't know what the obvious reasons are, J.K. Rowling's a TERF and a horrible human being, and proceeds to become an even more horrible human being. And I know we've discussed, and also because we've talked about like this a lot on Arcade Couch several times over the past 12 months, and I feel like I've said my 2 cents several times over onto this, but in general, I don't really care about the game anyway. There's a million games out there. I don't know why I need to like get excited about it just because it's like a AAA. Like I skimmed through the State of Play and was like, meh, doesn't even look exciting. Nothing. I don't even feel like I'm missing out. But the thing is, here's the number one thing I just want to counter. The number one thing I've seen going around, which is that, J.K. Rowling isn't involved with the game. Like, I just want to boil down some facts, because if you want to play the game, that's fine. Playing the game doesn't make you a transphobic. That's not how it goes. You can play the game and not be transphobic. You can play the game, but you're still. If you have trans friends who got angry at you because of that, they're more than allowed to feel that way. Because J.K. Rowling, like the number one person I've seen bring up in these conversations is H.P. Lovecraft, right? That's been the number one thing going around. So I want to explain the difference here for people who may or may not understand the difference. H.P. Lovecraft was a terrible human being. People continue to use his works as either the basis. Super racist. Like super racist.
Even for the time he was racist.
Yeah, even for the time, like super racist. Like, people continue to use his works sort of to inspire games or like do movies based on his works and stuff. Obviously, take out the racist stuff. And the reason he's comparing him to J.K. Rowling, the difference is that
he's dead.
He's dead, and by doing stuff based on his stuff, you're not going to help sort of platform his views, because he doesn't have a way to speak anymore. Because just to clarify, he's dead.
He's dead. Well, we're pretty sure he's dead.
Yeah, we're pretty sure he's dead.
He's got. If you read some of his material, there's like a chance, but pretty confident.
Maybe he found a way to live forever. Who knows?
I mean, maybe his soul is constantly being consumed by some Cthulhu monster.
Yeah. Now, the thing with J.K. Rowling is that she's still very much alive and tweeting every other. Yeah, we're pretty sure.
Okay.
We're pretty much tweeting every other day, hateful things about trans people, hateful things about other groups of people, but mainly trans people, and building this platform. So the thing is that although playing and buying Hogwarts Legacy doesn't directly support her views, it does help continue to build a platform in which she feels like her views are okay. And I feel like the same could be said for attending, watching Fantastic Beasts, which she will actually get money from because she's the screenwriter. And she's a producer, I believe. So that means the movie does well. She'll actually get excess profits if the movie reaches certain thresholds and stuff, being in those sorts of roles. So there is difference there. However, the thing is, like, if she's currently saying, fuck trans people, blah, 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 they're not real women, all this sort of stuff that she's out there saying. And then everyone's like, oh yeah, terrible views, but continue to buy and support, Wizarding World stuff. She ultimately gets to go, look, no matter what I say, no one really gives it two shits. Everyone still loves me. You continue to like build this narrative where, yeah, that's the main difference, I guess, between her and H.P. Lovecraft, I guess, is the thing I'm saying. Like, it's just, H.P. Lovecraft isn't getting a platform. He's gone. His views are there. They're dead and buried. You're not helping him. The other thing I'll say is, what about the devs? It sucks to be them, to be honest. There is feels bad about it because they've been like worked years on a game and obviously there's a lot of passion there. However, again, I just want to clarify some things that people are like saying to make themselves like guilt them into like, oh, I can play the game because this is, they're not making excess money. The big people would potentially get bonuses on their game if it hits certain Metacritic scores, because that's a fucking thing, or if it reaches certain sales goals, then some of the big head honchos in the game would potentially get bonuses. Not everyone across the studio, at least as far as we're aware, like with big time studios, not every little, down to the lowly, engineer doing a lot of work is going to get a bonus, but everyone there has been paid. Like, I don't know why we talk about game development like it's a thing that no one does for any money until it's out. Like, people get paid wages. You know what I mean? Like, people are paid, mostly. Indie development's a lot weirder. Other situations, overtime. We don't need to discuss people not getting paid for overtime. I mean, in general, people are paid money like it's a job. They get paid. They've been paid to make the game. So you not supporting it when it comes out, it's not going to suddenly send some poor family broke. They've got paid. They can move on to the next project. I don't know. Anyway, so I personally don't care if someone wants to, like if Ash was like, I want to play the Harry Potter game. I'm like, you can do whatever you want. But I personally don't want to play the Harry Potter game out of my own sort of like, it's the same as I don't really want to watch the Wizarding World movies. In the same way, I don't want to talk about the game itself, really, on an Explosion Network. Now, I did say to Ash the other day, I said, like, we'll bring in a behind closed door conversation, because why not? We was just discussing, like, how to go about, like, so if Ash went to watch, what's it called? Fantastic Beasts?
So I am going to the screening of
Fantastic Beasts. What's it called, the third one?
Secrets of Dumbledore?
Yeah, that sounds
something
right.
like that.
So Ash Goes Sees Secrets of Dumbledore was discussing like how we go about like covering that, and the same would be for the game. So say someone wanted to review the game for the website, and Ash is like, oh, I want to review the movie for the website. My thing is that I feel as long as we start each of those things with a, hey, J.K. Rowling's a terrible piece of shit, blah, 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 blah. Continue. That's my bare minimum. But from a personal opinion, as the host of the podcast, I don't want to talk about the games. If you or Kieran wanted to talk about the games, then I would just be like, hey, I'm just going to say J.K. Rowling's a terrible piece of shit, and then you can talk about the games. If you want, like, I'm not going to stop people talking about it. I'm not going to write news stories about it. That's my, like, thing. And again, like, if people want to play the game, play the game. But don't do all this weird, because I want to make sure that the devs get paid. Like, what do you call, all the, like, trying to make excuses?
The justification.
Justification
like
stuff.
Moral justification. It's a very interesting discussion. I think, I feel like there's a lot of people coming into it with a lot of bad faith. It's like, especially people who just want to play the game and are like, fuck you for trying to make me feel bad about making this purchase. I've been waiting my entire life for this video game. I think, obviously whichever way you look at it, it's going to help J.K. Rowling. But I don't think the comparisons to Lovecraft and J.K. are entirely adequate, even from like we keep using his materials stance. It's like Harry Potter is much bigger than anything H.P. Lovecraft ever put out.
Ever did.
It is ever did. Yeah. So it's like one of the biggest franchises in the world. Even from the box office to book sales, everything. Like, I'm sure there's like tons of people who just don't know that J.K. Rowling is a piece of shit and just love Harry Potter for loving Harry Potter. I think, blanket statements that like everybody who is going to buy the game as a transphobe is probably not the most helpful, like, kind of comments. Like, I saw somebody saying, I feel super unsafe anytime I see somebody in a Harry Potter t-shirt. I think statements like that, though I completely understand I don't understand, but like for a trans person, like maybe like something they truly feel, but like saying that out loud is like super generalistic and like is a similar statement to saying all trans people who want to abuse you in a bathroom. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't think you can just say something like that, even though that's like on a way worse scale. I think about the game devs, it's like, yes, they've all gotten paid, but obviously sales for this is going to decide whether they still have a job in 12 months' time. But that's just the nature of the industry. A lot of these people are really good at their jobs. They'll find something else if the studio goes under, which I don't. Well, Avalanche is obviously.
It's going to sell either way. That's the thing. Like,
that's true. That's the thing. This is going to sell anyway. It's like, as for everything we say about J.K. Rowling, everything everybody's saying about all these issues, it's like this game's going to sell so many copies. So to a certain extent, we're just kind of clear our conscience of like being involved in the game industry and like trying to make a bit of a difference, I guess. I think attacking people who say they're not interested in covering the game is unfair because, maybe they're just not interested, or that if they don't want to cover something, they don't need to cover it. It's like, it's a whole weird situation all around. And like, yeah. But I feel like obviously the people who are super invested in Harry Potter and like talking shit about people who can't separate art from artist are like maybe going way too far.
Yeah. And I mean, it depends. And like, me doing this and me being like, I don't want to cover it and talk about it. It's not like out of left field. Like, I feel like over the years, I'm like showing.
No, this is pretty on brand.
But that's what I mean. Like, I'm very much like, I won't watch Woody Allen films. Like, that was like one of the earliest topics we discussed here.
Yeah.
Like, so like
it is getting harder and harder.
It's really not. So I feel
no, it's getting harder because there's more shitty people now.
Well, yeah, to dodge around,
yeah.
I feel like but this is the thing. Like, I also feel like the majority, the whole like that's the thing. As to the people being like, I feel unsafe or a trans person saying I feel unsafe, someone wearing Harry Potter t-shirt. I do feel like that's an outlandish statement. However, I would say you could and definitely could see a small group of people, J.K. Rowling supporters, wearing Harry Potter t-shirts in support of her and her views. Like, that is totally something that could happen. However, I'm not going to say everyone wearing Harry Potter t-shirts is automatically transphobic. That's, of course, outlandish. Like, my mum recently was like asked about something Harry Potter because I was like a massive, like I was of the age group. I literally read every book, and Harry was like my age as I grew up. Like, I was literally the perfect age. And I was a massive Harry Potter fan growing up. Mum said something about Harry Potter a week. I'm like, no, we don't buy that stuff anymore, Mum. Like, but she has no idea, So,
yeah.
And as to, I think the number one thing I would say is like final statement on this is, if you see any trans person online saying outlandish, like even something like that, like everyone who wears a Harry Potter shirt is making me feel unsafe. Like, you may view that. Yeah, just let it be. Honestly, just let it be. Because this is the thing. Like, most of the people talking about this is a bunch of people like us, not trans, right? That's majority games podcast.
That's because we kind of outnumber them, but yes.
That's true. But like, the thing is, like, I just feel like people don't understand or especially if they're not trans, I guess. But if, you don't have to be trans, I guess, to understand the major issue here is it is a very popular woman in pop culture who is literally now, like, let's boil down the issue. She is saying a group of people do not exist. So I completely understand if you're a trans person and someone's telling you that you do not exist as a person, you are a fake person, how that would completely ruin your world, make you feel like your friends, like if you have a friend and you ask them not to play the game because it like you and they refuse because they're like, oh, like I'm not, like I of course totally support you, but like I just want to play the game. Like I would totally understand how that may upset you if you're trans. Like it, like I feel like people are like sort of going over the issue and like putting under the rug, saying it's not as big as it is. Like it is literally saying someone does not exist. That's what her whole thing is.
Yeah,
it's major. Like it's fucked up.
Yeah, if you don't know, I would recommend, obviously there was a big GameSpot article that came out kind of breaking everything down. Even if you're like, where exactly did she say that? Like, it's not even that she didn't necessarily said it specifically in the words, but like the people she supported and the movements she's been supporting over the last few years, like, is very anti-trans. And in the process, it doesn't matter. So many of the things she's trying to push that are anti-trans are like hurting women in general is like pretty fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, her main thing is that trans women are real women and they should be subclassed as a different group or whatever. So it's completely backwards to where we should be, the direction towards, society should be in a whole moving. So yeah, that's my number one thing. I feel like it's one thing if you want to listen to a game podcast like this and hear a bunch of people like talk about the issue and like justify why they need to play the game and blah, 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 blah. But ultimately, if you have trans friends, if you want to actually be an ally, it isn't like suddenly,
tweeting at them, hey,
yeah,
I see what you're saying, but I really want to play Harry Potter.
That is totally not what to do. It is, no matter how angry a trans friend of yours or someone you follow on Twitter or whoever seems, what they're saying, if they're being really angry, if they're getting totally upset and they're saying stuff that even you're like, oh man, that seems like really out there, like just let them be. Like, and if you want to support them, but definitely don't do what Ash just like pretended. Do not come in with that whole like, I totally support you, but I want to play the game. Don't just
send them a bunch of... don't send them all those screenshots of you like playing the game or like with your movie tickets.
Because let's just clarify the weight of things here. Someone's existence in life, video game. Like it is not even into like the world of what's important in the world. Like one is literally a fucking video game. And the other one is someone's right to live life and say, like, as who they are. So I don't even know why we get into these weird, like, people arguing about, like, justifying stuff. I'm like, one is literally probably one of the least important things in the world. Like, let's be honest. As people who sit here talking about video games every week. Pretty low on the ground.
You can just enjoy stuff without talking about it, you know?
Anyway, that's, there's a state of play talk. Good state of play. I don't know.
Good. I mean, it was newsworthy.
Yeah, it was definitely newsworthy.
Give us a look.
And so, since I think this also happened last week, that I feel like I'm like, if we're opening the show talking about serious shit, let's fucking continue. So to cover this, because we are a PlayStation show, and I feel like, you know, again, let's not pretend it's happening. VG27 writes, gender discrimination lawsuit against PlayStation heats up as more women come forward. The proposed class action lawsuit against PlayStation is back up in spotlight after 7 former staffers and 1 current employee provided comment regarding sexism in the workplace. According to Axios, 8 women across various US-based PlayStation offices have shared accounts of company-wide misconduct ranging from, quote, demanding comments, unwelcome advances, and, quote, being dismissive of ideas from female team members and lack of promotions for female employees. A 16-year veteran of Sony Online Entertainment and Sony PlayStation alleges women weren't considered for senior roles during, quote, calibration sessions, end quote, as much as men. One such session saw only 4 women considered for promotion compared to 70 men. During the session, she heard comments made about female candidates' family lives, comments that were directed at male staffers for the promotion. It continues a bunch. This is a continuing thing. So, it ends here. The lawsuit alleges Sony PlayStation, quote, cultivates a work environment that discriminates against female employees, end quote, and along with gender discrimination, instances of harassment and wrongful termination were also cited in the claim. Among other allegations, the suit states the plaintiff's termination was caused by gender bias against females and bias against those who spoke up against gender bias. Back in February, Sony denied the claims and asked the court to dismiss the lawsuit over a lack of facts. This sort of like all started heating up start of the year when we were sort of on break.
Yep.
So, didn't really talk about it, and then it sort of disappeared, and I wasn't sure what the latest was with it. But here's the latest. It's getting more. So more people coming forward against Sony, which is interesting because Sony has predominantly been, like, of course, like companies like Naughty Dog or whatever have had their share of issues with like crunch and, you know, this sort of stuff. But Sony in general for a while, I feel like, especially the last couple of years, there's all these, you know, these sorts of allegations and stuff have come forward about companies. Sony's been like riding on like, we're the good guys. And now, they're sort of getting their share. Honestly, I feel like there's nothing super surprising in here to feel like Sony was going to be, free of any of this sort of stuff. I feel like was being a bit naive because it is a very long-running company that's been built in the same ecosystem that a lot of the other companies have.
Every other company has, yeah.
So, not good. However, I would say, much like all these other ones, it's just hopefully a continuation of getting all the video game companies and the industry in general, I guess, in the right direction. Did you have any thoughts on that? Or
no, obviously it's interesting. The plaintiff is a former PlayStation IT security analyst, so that might not necessarily be like on a game studio. So maybe it's this culture is in a certain segment of PlayStation, so it's something it can easily stamp out or have stamped out.
You don't know what all the other ones are from though, like the areas.
Yeah, that's true. It could be from every other corner of the company. So the sooner we can find out if it's the sooner we can move forward and like everybody gets treated fairly, the better.
I'll bring
I guess also a tie-in. We're probably not going to address this every single time we bring up PlayStation in the way we would with Harry Potter, and also fuck all those people who are like, what about, why aren't you mentioning Tencent, all the problems with Tencent and everything anytime any other company's coming up with issues. We're not going to do that, but we know there's issues with those companies as well.
I mean, it's even like, so I'm going to give a sneak peek to this week's Arcade Couch. We're going to talk about Witcher 4. I'm going to make sure to clarify that that is a currently in the shit company. Like, a lot of issues there from Cyberpunk stuff through to even before that. So, and now it's all like, everyone's like, they're back, Witcher 4. I'm like, right. I'm also excited about a potential Witcher 4. But if it's going to be developed as terribly as everything else,
Cyberpunk.
and the way they treat the staff, like, let's not, you know what I mean? So, like, it's not that I forget, it's just not like there's certain things that don't need to be addressed every single time.
But JK being a transphobe needs to be addressed every single time.
Well, I mean, she's made it part of her life. She's a political fucking activist out there trying to, on the weekly, ruin people's lives. It's a bit different to a lawsuit against like that could. Yeah, I mean, I don't need to mention that Sony's it's a bit different. I don't know. We'll see. If the lawsuit got worse and it was like a full Ubisoft situation, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. But there is a difference. I don't know. Anyway, maybe that's just our rules. Maybe this is how I feel. Yeah, let's talk about some video game. I played a video game this week.
Crazy.
I've been playing, I don't know how to pronounce it still, Anno Mutationem.
Listen, if you've got a game with like a weird sounding name, like phonetically put it in the name of the press release or at one stage in the game or in a trailer. Say the name of the game.
Yeah.
Please.
All I know is like, I can't even
nobody knew how to say Pokemon Arceus until somebody said that
still no one
in a trailer. And still nobody knows.
They say different, like,
that's how,
different
because
trailers. Ridiculous. All I know, like, this game we've talked about this before, right? So this game was part of the China Hero project, the same original list of games that was alongside one of my favorite games last year. Yeah, F.I.S.T, of course. So this was part of that list of stuff. It is a pixel art cyberpunk game in which it combines a lot of interesting elements. And I remember like the first trailer they dropped for it in that same thing of F.I.S.T, it was like, what is this? Because I could, you know, like it looked really cool, like art wise and style wise and everything, but it was just like, what are we actually doing in this game? Because you'll have times where you're sort of walking around in a 3D world, like in a 3D environment. You can explore the city, you can take on like side quests and help people, stop and talk to random characters, just check out what's actually happening in the world. There's people dancing around to like, you know, like idols in the street or whatever, I don't know, dancing. And then you'll go like into another area and take on like doing the main mission or whatever, and suddenly you're in like a side-scrolling beat 'em up sort of game. And that's like the two spectrums, the two ends of this, and how it like sort of mixes. And sometimes you'll literally walk through a door and the camera will just go like sideways and you're in combat now, and then, you know, you'll go through the door at the end and then you're sort of back in this 3D environment. And it's weird too because the character models don't change or anything, so you are like walking around as this like pixel 2D, 2.5D, whatever pixel sprite thing walking around. So I'm really enjoying it though. So the story is about this character called Anne Flores, and you discover early in the game that she has like they just refer to it as like a sickness, like she'll pass out and like something weird's happening to her. It's like you've got to try and figure out what's going on there. And her brother has like goes searching for a way, like a secret way to stop this, like a ingredient or element or something. And then he disappears. So she goes like on a mission to track him down. And along the way, you meet like other characters and you side quests and get involved in what's happening with them. Like most recently, I just did this like whole very long sequence where it was like an underground city and there was like these mutated creatures and mole people, and there was like other people living down there in like cyber suits, and you like help them overthrow the mutated creatures and stuff like that. And then amongst missions, you can hop in a car and fly between these different cities. And then each has like a assortment of side quests you can do. Like at the moment, the one I'm currently trying to finish up is, and they're usually not very long either, and they just take place in the city. Like the one I'm doing at the moment is like, this cop's like, hey, we need your help. Can you track down these criminals? Because apparently you help the police in this game, and it's just a thing. But they're like, hey, we need help. Can you track down this criminal? And you just, you know, I'm just like scanning, looking for footprints in the city to try and track down where these criminals are hiding. There was another one where this neighbor was like, oh, someone threw a fucking TV out and landed on my head. And then can you figure out who did it? And then you got to solve who did that, like in your apartment building. There's a skill tree. It's not like overly large. There's like you can upgrade stuff like your basic attacks, health, and all that sort of stuff. And you can buy upgrades and like what do you call it? Like, you know, like little inserts to the weapons that increase like the crit damage or the speed, or like make them do fire damage and stuff like that. But the combat's not like overly complicated. It's pretty simple actually, which I'm kind of enjoying because I needed a break from harder games. So like I've died a couple times on bosses, but overall I'd say this game's not particularly hard. It's like fairly simple. There's no difficulty setting either. It's just like play the game. But you have like a light attack on square, you got a heavy attack on triangle, which does more damage to enemy shields, because often the bosses you have to break their shields before you can do real damage to them. You can unlock the ability to like counter attack if you want. If you don't, you can just roll around, like circle just lets you dodge roll, and you do get iframes between, like if you roll into an enemy's attack, you're invincible and you won't take damage sort of thing. But yeah, I've done boss fights against like mutated monsters, giant fucking dinosaur looking creatures, other human enemies who have like samurai swords and shit like that. So it's a wide spectrum of stuff happening in this game. I'm not sure how long it'll end up being either, because it's like, I think it's like $28 or like just shy of $30 on the PlayStation Store. So it's not like an overly expensive game. So I don't expect it to be too long. I'm assuming it's going to be maybe around that 8 to 12 hours, considering like where I am in the story and like how long I've been playing at the moment, which is pretty good. But yeah, I would say that the pacing at times gets a bit weird. It'll be like, hey, here's like a very short mission. Here's a short mission. Spend a bunch of time exploring, like feel the vibe of the cities and stuff like that. And then it's like, hey, spend like a very long time in this one mission, like under the ground city, and then like goes for a very long time. And there's lots of walking too at times where like nothing's happening and you're just hallways. And the whole idea is that you can like loot the boxes on the ground to get parts that you can like sell for money or use to combine to like create weapon upgrades or whatever. But like there's just a lot of that at times where it sort of becomes tedious, just like walk in R1, take all, R1, take one. I mean, it's no different than playing like Fallout or something where you're just like walking around spending ages like looting shit, I guess, but does become a little bit tedious. But I'm interested to see where the story goes. And I really love the art style. I think the art style is really, really pretty. Very bright neon colors and all that sort of stuff. The game is also very anime. For the good and the bad. So like there's this character, I can't remember her name, but she's like, and I have no idea if she's a real person or just an AI. I'm going to assume that she's just an AI, but by the end of the game, it may be revealed she's just like a girl sitting in another room who follows you around like with a drone the entire game. But she has like this, she like popped out and follows you around. She always calls you darling and like says like nearly sexual innuendo stuff towards her, like she's in love with you, like sort of anime sort of stuff. And then the other thing I've noticed that I'm like, why is that in the game? Is like there's times where they're like it'll go like close up on the characters or something, and like girl characters will just be breathing, but they're like pixel boobs are bouncing up and down for some fucking reason. Like it doesn't even make sense. Like
that's how they work.
Like all they're doing is breathing.
That's how pixel boobs work.
It's just like one of those things. I'm like, why does this have to be a thing? Anyway, like it's not like over the top, like ruining the game sort of thing, but it's just like a few things that stand out. But yeah, overall, I'm really enjoying it. I'm keen to see it through to the end. I would presume I'll have it finished by next week, and I can say if it falls apart towards the ending, and if the story was good by the time I get to the conclusion or not. But yeah, have you? Do you reckon this would be something you'd be ever interested in playing or no?
No, I'll probably skip this one.
All right, let's get into the few news stories we got this week. Firstly, the one that popped this morning right before when I was waking up to record. PlayStation blog writes, welcoming Haven Studios to the PlayStation Studios family. That's a lot of studios. Herman Holst writes, today I'm delighted to announce that Haven Studios is officially joining PlayStation Studios. Jade Raymond brings a wealth of experience from her industry achievements and an infectious passion for creating games, and the leadership team at Haven is an equally impressive group of industry veterans who have collaborated on some of the biggest and most beloved games and franchises that many of us still enjoy today. We began working with Jade and her team early in 2021 when they were on the brink of announcing the formation of Haven Studios. From the first pitch, we were inspired by Haven's vision for creating a modern multiplayer experience that brings gamers together in a positive and meaningful ways. We were confident in their creative and technical expertise to deliver on such an ambitious project, and we're thrilled to invest in their journey in developing a new and original IP for PlayStation. Jade Raymond also says here, just read a quick bit of her thing. She wrote, 1 year ago this month, we embarked on a journey to start Haven Studios with a small team and big ambitions. Our goal was to build a studio where we could make the kind of games we always wanted to create and games we've longed to play. We've made amazing progress in a short time thanks to our talented, passionate team and their exceptional contributions. We've established a culture at Haven grounded in kindness, adaptability, and courage that unlocks creativity. Our first new IP for PlayStation is on track to deliver a AAA multiplayer experience with a vision to build a systemic and evolving world focused on freedom, thrill, and playfulness that will keep players entertained and engaged for years. Yeah, so of course we were talking about this last year when PlayStation announced the partnership. And it was very weird at the time because it was like almost like they were talking about it being exclusive, but we were like, it's not an exclusive. PlayStation's just like maybe going to make it console exclusive or get like some exclusive DLC or I don't know. Like it was a whole weird thing, especially because Jade Raymond like just has not had anything released for ages because everything she's on falls apart. Not her fault, but so it was like an interesting thing. And then seeing this morning, it was like, okay, well, it just makes me wonder, like, PlayStation, we know, has been like sort of heavily involved in this project from the get-go. Was it, someone they got a build of the game up, or there was a final thing, like a pitch, or like they're like, nah, fuck it, like we're all in, let's pick up the studio. Or maybe it was like what Xbox has been doing recently. Maybe this is actually one that was affected by that, where PlayStation's like, you know what, like instead of like trying to buy an Activision, we're just going to scoop up a team like Haven, which we're already involved with and we think are super talented, and we think that game is going to be massive, and we'll just get in, like, you know, go to where the puck's going to be, not where it's at, sort of scenario. What do you make of this news?
Interesting. I think it's like a bold choice. I think of their purchases, it's one of the first that they haven't put anything out before. It's like that's the thing that kind of makes a difference, I think. I guess the other one would be Pixel Opus, which I think was established before Entwined came out. But that was like they built a studio rather than they purchased one. I think obviously it must be impressing them for them to go, we'll go all in. Over at GameIndustry.biz, they've got a big interview with Herman Holtz and Jade Raymond. Herman Holtz says, "You're right. We could have carried on in the capacity of them being an external development partner, but what Haven has created is so exciting for us. There was just a desire to deepen that relationship. We have been very impressed with how Haven is coming together. It's just easier for us to invest in the team and game more deeply this way. It's a testament to the fact that we've been impressed with the progress that Haven has made. They're actually exceeding a lot of the plans, including in terms of time, which is very rarely happens in game development. So we thought, let's deeply invest and do this properly." So very promising in regards to, you know, maybe we'll actually see what they're working on soon. And they must, especially if it's going to be like a games of service game. Like, it makes sense. PlayStation wants to own all of it. And if PlayStation's doing that, I'm sure it's like taking a lot of other stuff off the plates of like the studio, like from like a marketing and financial, like behind the scenes sort of stuff, rather than just the game development element. So,
know what else making me?
Hopefully this works out for Jade Rampant is all I'm saying.
Hopefully she can release a game. Yeah. You know what else I was thinking was that of a recent purchase by Sony, Bungie, which they talked about. Obviously, Bungie gets full free reign. They're not like exclusive to PlayStation or anything, but PlayStation talking about, you know, great purchase, so they can get sort of the minds behind that and like get in the inner workings of the game to help them on their stuff or whatever. And then now they've brought a studio who's literally working on a AAA multiplayer game. It very much sounds like games of service title. I wonder like how much also they will get involved and like how much that, like, of course, this is one of the things you'll never know, but like when the game releases and we're like, wow, it's so good, hopefully, you got to wonder how much in that scenario, like, like this worked out really well because Bungie was able to help with this, or like having that technology in house, or like just the people to discuss with, you know. So it's like cultivating a bunch of teams that sort of can help out, I guess, each of the projects or whatever. It is funny though, like even like I'm scrolling through the PlayStation blog comments, and like I feel like the overall reaction to this news this morning was everyone's like shrug, because it's a studio that hasn't released anything, so it's nothing for like the gamers to get ultra excited about, because they're like, oh, you know, because that's the whole thing that I still, apart from like Hideo Kojima and maybe nowadays who else would be up that level? I don't even know. No one. I don't know. Hideo Kojima is probably on his own level. But there's like a few names, I guess. What's his fuck from Naughty Dog? The last of what the fuck's his name?
Neil Druckmann.
Neil Druckmann. Oh my god, I forgot. I was like, Neil Druckmann. Neil Druckmann and Corey Blog, maybe they're getting up there, but like there's not really people who, most of the time people just associate game studios as like the makers of games, and then even if everyone who worked on a game they love leaves, they're still like, Infinity Ward, you know. everyone that works there has gone to Respawn, but Infinity Ward, like one of those scenarios. So it's not like that thing where, I guess if people don't know what Jade Raymond actually did, that, again, because she hasn't done anything in so long. No, sorry, Jade. I'm like, it's just the facts. It's just the facts. Like, I'm sorry, everything you've done recently has utterly fallen apart. I do not think it's your fault. But because she hasn't released anything for ages, I guess there's that thing where people like have no idea who she is. But she's most known for obviously her work at Ubisoft, Assassin's Creed games primarily, and
Watch Dogs,
Watch Dogs. And she's like a well-loved, I guess, within the industry as like a mind and a talent and so on.
Yep.
But yeah, there's not one of these huge announcements. Like this comment here. So you brought a studio that hasn't done anything and won't go after Platinum Games, Falcom, Capcom, or Arc System Works. Platinum literally begged to be brought. They need a budget behind them. Have you learned nothing from your player base? Brought Bungie, but then go and buy an unproven studio. Like, I was like, how is this?
I mean, it's a smart thing to do, really. I mean, you'll be able to buy them for cheap, but then they'll prove their worth over the next however many years.
Yeah,
especially if they're so impressed by this project. It's like any rookie deal for any like sports players. Like you're investing what they could potentially be, not necessarily what they are right now.
Yeah, not waiting until they're worth 5-10 million. Like picking them up for 500,000 or whatever.
Yeah,
same scenario. So I think it's an exciting and different direction.
PlayStation can't like spend the money like Xbox does. So
no, they don't have the money. So
they got to play the long game, which they've done in the past. So
yeah, they're
smart investments, and also to a certain degree, it's like we really need to like lock some of these studios down, especially with companies like Tencent and THQ Nordic and like
buying everyone else,
Asper, or whatever it's like buying a lot of studios as well. It's like the market is as many indie studios as popping up. There's still a lot of companies that are picking up these, especially ones that are trying to do AAA sort of games.
Yeah.
The other interesting factoid that I saw brought up was this is PlayStation's first Canadian studio.
Oh, is it?
Which is kind of weird. Yeah, when every other single games publisher has a presence in Canada. So
there you go. Their first French studio too. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know what part of Canada
I think Montreal. They're in Montreal. So
there you go.
I think that's French Canadian. Yeah. So hopefully Australia is the next big hotspot for wanting game devs.
Maybe. Yeah. Who knows?
Come on.
Someone buy someone here. Yeah. Let's do it. Gran Turismo had an interesting week last week. So in case you missed this, so just read a little bit of this to set things up from The Verge. Gran Turismo 7, one of the biggest PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5 games of the year so far, is back online after a 30-hour outage. A broken update resulted in longer than expected server and maintenance yesterday, leaving players frustrated at the limited offline mode available in Gran Turismo 7. Much of Gran Turismo 7, including its career mode and multiplayer, was unplayable for 30 hours, and developer Polyphony Digital took more than 24 hours to provide an update on the problems after maintenance extension. Polyphony Digital has now apologized for the problems, and the game is back online with a new and functional 1.08 update. The problematic update also adjusted the rewards system for some events, meaning Gran Turismo 7 players get fewer credits. That makes it even more difficult to save up in-game currency for top cars and makes the game a lot more of a grind for players. Quote, in GT7, I would like to have users enjoy lots of cars and races even without microtransactions, said Yamamushi, I think is how you say his name, the head Polyphony dude. At the same time, the pricing of cars is an important element that conveys their value and rarity, so I do think it is important for it to be linked to the real-world prices. I want to make GT7 a game in which you can enjoy a variety of cars lots of different ways, and if possible, I'd like to try to avoid a situation where a player must mechanically keep replaying certain events over and over again. So, to boil down what happened, they did an update which made my problems with the game worse, and didn't provide a solution. So they took away the races that you could earn the most the quickest, which still wasn't much, and they lowered the amount you could earn from them. And it's not because they put in a way to earn more credits in a different area. It's because they don't want people grinding races, he says. No grinding races. Okay, so what do I do to earn credits? We're going to add stuff. They don't have it here, but the rest of the quote after he says something like, we're working on updates for the game, new content, etc. Stay tuned. Okay, so if I want to earn credits now to save up to buy the game, what do? That's up for you to decide. Do you want me to spend money on microtransactions? You want me to spend money on microtransactions? I'm not saying you have to, but you currently have no fucking option. Fucked. So they do that, then they break their game while breaking the game. They make the game worse and break the game in the update, and then it goes down for so long so no one can even play the fucking game. Anyway, GT7's now got like massive negative, it's like the worst user review thing on Metacritic, PlayStation-wise or something like that now. I don't know what they're doing. They would literally put out a game that was like, like it's got a few issues. Hopefully they can fix it soon, like, add some events that can give you more credits or something. Explosion Network, 8 out of 10. Now, they're like, cool, let's fucking shoot ourselves in the foot. Let's shoot ourselves in the other foot.
After we got all these good reviews for a game that didn't have the microtransactions in it, it's not a good look.
I don't know what the fuck they're doing.
I don't know, yeah. It's pretty rough. I think, it is definitely something that I feel like they'll work out eventually, but, if you bought the game at launch, I think, I'm sorry.
I mean, I saw someone else point out there was
the sooner they get Bungie in there and like getting them to help with the live service elements.
Yeah, I know. Like
balancing and shit. Yeah, the better.
Fucking ridiculous. Yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing else more to say. They're completely fucking the game up. I don't know what they're doing.
If you can't for $30-$40 buy enough credits to buy whatever the biggest, most expensive car in the game is, that's pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I saw someone point out, I didn't even realize it when I was playing it, but there's a car in the game. Maybe I missed it. Maybe, I don't know. It actually costs like $15 million. So, in case you missed the last time I talked about it, 2 million credits cost $30. Yep. You did the maths. That's for one car. Prior to this update fucking the game, the most credits I think people worked out how to earn an hour was like 100,000 an hour. Grinding. It's fucking ridiculous. Fuck, I don't know. Anyway, here's a PSA. PlayStation owners will need to re-download Fall Guys, writes EuroGamer. A new launcher for Fall Guys is coming to PlayStation, and as such, users will need to re-download the game to keep on playing. Quote from Epic Games. Last year, you may have heard the news that Mutationem became part of the Epic Games family. We've been able to add a bunch of new features to the game since joining forces, and now officially switching over our publisher on PlayStation to Epic. We're working closely with the good folks at PlayStation to make the process as smooth as possible, and the new Fall Guys PlayStation launcher will be the exact same game you know and love, just with a few tweaks under the hood. End quote. The new launcher will be available on the PlayStation Store from April 5th. On this date, the old launcher icon will appear grayed out to indicate that's the old version. The needs for downloaded for users, you can play until 9th of May. You can delete the old file, everything, all your save files still fine, data, etc. But if you're still playing Fall Guys and you're suddenly like, my game's broke on April 5th,
that's why.
You gotta re-download that sucker. But hopefully this is good because it means like it's like getting more to that world we'll talk about where, got the Epic money and the crossplay and.
It's just weird. Why can't they just update the old game,
Because Epic now wants like their shit tied into the file or whatever, I guess, like on the back end. I don't know. Maybe they can't.
It is probably a PlayStation Network thing.
Yeah, it's probably there.
It's like, we have to make it an entirely new game if you want.
I feel like that's fair. I'd blame it on PlayStation.
That's probably what happens,
PSVR.
Let's talk a little bit about PlayStation Virtual Reality and not PlayStation VR 2.
Okay.
Let's talk about PlayStation VR, the current one that you may or may not currently own, or
the one gathering dust.
The one currently, literally gathering dust. I saw mine the other day in the corner. Help me! I'm fucking covered in dust. No, not yet. So I got to attend this event last week for Moss Book 2. So it was like a developer walkthrough of the game, Q&A session. talk through about what it's about and all sorts of things like that. And the long short of it, and why we're talking about it, is because it looks really good to the point that I'm like, fuck, maybe this will be the last game I play on PSVR, because I was really enjoying it. And I'll set this up. I haven't played Moss Book 1, or I don't actually know if that's what it's called. I think it's just called Moss. But Moss, the first one, that came out 2018. Very successful PlayStation VR game, highly reviewed. We talked about it on here when we started the show. One Thomas Marshall loved it. It was well reviewed on other platforms it's come to since then. Like, really good. I think the main complaint people had was it was too short. I think it's like 4 hours or something like that. Like, which I'm like, 4 hours for a VR game, it's pretty good to me. I don't need a 12-hour VR game personally, but maybe that's just me. Yeah, the game, so Moss Book 2 picks up straight away after the events of the first game. You're like in this castle or whatever where you fight the last boss. Apparently the first game is all about saving your uncle and all this sort of stuff. And now this one, there's like a creature trying to hunt you down. So Moss, not Moss, Quill is the character's name. She's on the run, got to escape, got to get out of there. So they showed a couple different areas. The first one was sort of, looked like the courtyard or like surrounding area of the castle, because you can see it like sort of looming in the distance and whatnot. And they showed off some the stuff from that was included in the first game, but sort of done better here, which is that because I guess for people that don't know, and I mean I didn't really know much to it because I haven't played the game, but Moss is a game in which you're reading a book, and that's what's happening in Moss. You're like both reading the story, but then you're like part of the universe. So you control Moss, the Quill, using the DualSense. So think Astrobot if you've played that VR, like using the controller. It's platforming and, attacks and whatever. But you can also then reach into the world to work with Quill or solve puzzles or this sort of stuff. So like they showed off in the first part that you can Quill like hit a creature like this little, I don't know, it's like a robotic cockroach looking thing, but then you can like reach in and like tap it to like wind it up and then use it to like springboard it into a button to activate a bridge or whatever. And then there's also parts where there's like no paths, but you can, as the player can like reach in and like drag this vine sort of thingy across to create something that Quill can then walk across. That was all cool, and that area looked like very pretty or whatever. Like as pretty as it, you got to allow your brain to have a little bit of the, you're watching VR footage, not in VR. So it's like, I can see how this would look, in the headset. Like it looks good. It'll look better in the headset. And then the second area was like a complete opposite. It was like this underground, I assume area. It's like a boiler rooms in the background or, fire stuff happening, like very mechanical area where Quill gets access to this hammer. And the cool thing about the hammer, and they explained they never had this in the first game at all, so it's like a new thing, and there's going to be other weapons in the game as well that you'll get aside from the hammer apparently, but you can use the hammer to solve some puzzles, and also for combat. So like they showed one, and by puzzles I mean it's not overly complicated, but so it's like you can reach in and like tap the hammer, and as Quill's winding it up, and it'll sort of freeze it in place. And then you can, they jump Quill up a couple platforms to where this door's going to open. And then you tap the hammer icon again where it was frozen. And then it'll smash on the ground and do like a big smash. But then Quill can get through the door. And then later in combat, they show a section where there's these like turtle looking things. I don't know. But they got like hard shells. And Quill's normal hammer attacks can't do any damage to them. So you got to sort of tap the hammer to activate the superpower hit thing. And then they'll smash the shells, and then Quill can get in there and attack them as well. So it's like a very the game seems to include a lot more of, you're not just sitting back with the VR headset on, like looking and enjoying the world, and you're playing with the controller or whatever, but you also have to, sort of reach in as a player to work with Quill to solve things and get through combat and whatever else. And they also teased a bunch of big boss fights. They said that like the last boss fight in the first game is like this big snake thing, and they loved how everyone talked about it and had great memories of it and thought it was like this big epic battle. And they said that this game's going to have a lot more of that. And at the end of the gameplay demo, they you do see like a big hand like reach up and grab a hammer off in the distance sort of thing, but that's where it ends. I have no idea what it actually was, but that's cool. But yeah, I very much enjoyed it. I was like, why the fuck didn't I ever get around to playing Moss? But then B, I was like, fuck, this looks really cool. This looks like a lot of fun. And it's just that whole thing where it's like, it's a platforming action game. Like, I'll totally be into this even if it wasn't in VR, but then just the integration of VR and having to be part of the world and help Quill and all that, I think is like a really smart way to use virtual reality and these sorts of games. So I thought it looked really, really cool. Do you reckon this is, you probably won't put your headset back on, but I don't know.
No.
Would you play this if it was on PSVR 2?
Yeah, I would if it's on PSVR 2 and I get a PSVR 2, if they're available.
That's true.
Yeah, it's an odd time to put it out. I don't know.
That's the thing.
It's just whenever they finish,
It comes out March 31st was the other thing that was announced. That's the other thing I should clarify.
Wait, like this year?
Yep.
It's like a week.
Yeah, it's out next week. That was the other thing, yeah. So they told us in an event, the game, they're like, and here's the release date, March 31st. And even, it was like, 1 o'clock in the morning or whatever time this thing was on. I looked at the calendar in the right eye and I'm like, it's like a couple weeks from now.
So are you going to put the headset back on?
I reckon I will. I want to. I definitely can.
Yeah.
Especially.
Are you going to play Moss first?
Well, that's the thing. If I have time, I would love to. But I've just got other, stuff. So we'll see. We'll see. There's always other stuff, But I would love to. But I definitely also feel like that was like one thing they did cover in the event. Do you need to play the first game? And it's that whole thing of no, but of course it'll help you understand the world and story. But I'm also like, it's not a like massive game. Like I literally Wikipedia'd the plot before I wrote this. Like they talked about the plot in the event, but then I was like, which caught me up on nearly everything. But then before I was writing my preview thing, I was like, let me just Wikipedia things so I can make a bit more sense of what they were talking about. So, yeah, I definitely want to play it. I think it looks really, really cool. So I think it's going to be the last good game on PSVR. Like if you want one last chance to whip that bad boy out before we send it off into a Viking funeral ahead of PSVR 2, I think Moss might be it because it looks really good. And they currently have no plans. It'll come to other platforms eventually, I would say. When asked about it, what they called? Polyarch? Am I getting it wrong? What the fuck is?
Yeah, Polyarch sounds right.
Polyarch, that's it. Yeah. Polyarch, they were we're a small studio. That was the answer to other platforms. I will say eventually it will totally come to other platforms. They did say on PS5 as well. They're like, hey, someone did ask in an event, if I'm playing this on PS5, what are the features? And it's the basic stuff. It'll look better. It'll load a lot faster. So nothing shocking. Then you go wonder like, okay, cool. It just makes me have a lot of questions about when PSVR 2 comes out. Like, are there going to be any benefits there, or are people going to be able to patch their games to, so like how we're looking at PS4 games coming to PS5 sort of, upgrade sort of scenario. But yeah, I mean, they've been working on it a while, and they are a small team. So I guess it's that whole thing of, unfortunately, you just have to release it. Like, what do you do? Like, you can't just, keep delaying it for PSVR 2 because it's a game made for PSVR. Like, it's a completely different platform, control set. Like, I know it's very easy, like, to be like, well, just put on another thing, but it's not made. it's not made for that. I mean, yeah,
you can't. It's not out yet.
No, all that, yeah. So yeah, looks cool. Looks good. I can't remember the last thing because I thought it was Iron Man was probably the last thing I played, and I thought that was going to be the last like PSVR game I played. Like after that, I was like, that's it. PSVR's done. I'm not going back to that because Iron Man was, I thought, the last exclusive or game that would actually release for it. Completely forgot about Moss, which is funny because they did announce it like a state of play.
Did you ever play? Have you played your PSVR on your PS5?
No.
No. So you got the dongle.
I got the dongle in case I ever needed to or wanted to. No, I haven't. At all.
Now's the time.
Now's the time.
I guess.
I mean,
check how it works.
Yeah, I will. And Because I have my PSVR set up. So I've got another PS4 in another room, and that's where I have my PSVR set up because there's like not enough room in here to run it. So I thought, since I'll need to test the PS5 and PSVR, I'll just get another PS5 so I can put it in the room.
Wow, Dylan. There's a shortage of PS5s across the world. You're like, fuck everybody else. I need one. I need two. I need two so I can do PSVR in another room.
How good was that? For audio listeners, I just held up a digital PS5. It's not a meme. It's in there.
Yeah, we know it's not a meme because you like to destroy the boxes.
That's
so
true.
If it was empty,
that's very true. It
surprising.
Would be gone. So yeah, call me Dylan 2 PS5s. I've had this sitting there waiting to set up that fucking joke all episode. Coming prepared. You know what I mean? Coming prepared. Yeah.
Wow, what a way to end episode 250.
that was gonna be my other joke. I was like, if I can't work it into Moss and VR somehow, I was like thinking my other meme was just going to be at the end of the episode and be like, and being episode 250, I know we said we wouldn't do anything, but I decided to give myself a little celebratory gift. Brought up the PS5.
They can do like speed tests and compare like the disc version versus the discless version.
It's true. It's good. I mean, it's bad. At one stage I had 3 PS4s, so I mean, let's hope I don't get to that.
Yeah. So if you don't have a PS5 at the moment, blame Dylan. Yeah.
Hey, I'm keeping it, not selling it. That's the important. I'm not over here making profit.
Yeah, it's just going to sit in the corner collecting dust while you use your one.
Primarily.
No, you're going to install half your games on one and half your games on the other one.
You got it because you're running out of space.
SSD, yeah. It's cheaper than getting a SSD.
It nearly is. I mean, if you can find a digital PS5, an SSD costs like 2 terabyte one, or no, even like 1 terabyte one's like $250, right? It's like half the price of just buying on PlayStation. From some, just buy a whole new PlayStation. You get DualSense as well. That's like $100. Yeah. Saved.
It's a bargain, really.
It's a bargain, really. Yeah, exactly. People forget these digital ones are cheap.
Yeah, you just put all your digital games on that one, and then all your disc-based one on the other one.
From some,
it's actually very smart.
I'm playing the system, I'm out here trendsetting.
Yeah, PlayStation. This is the advertising you should have. You should tell everybody to buy 2 PlayStations.
Fuck the SSDs.
As soon as we start getting more out in the wild, it's like, this is the future. 2 PlayStations.
It's not the future, Ash. It's now. All right, The future is now. It's in my room. Oh, these motherfuckers. Also, no one find out where I live. Break into my house and steal 2 PlayStations. Come on. Got 2 PlayStations, an Xbox, and this Switch OLED. I got too much. I'm trying to steal all the high-tech Fast and Furious gear. All right. They'll do it. Yeah. For episode 250, by the way. It was episode 250. That's not a joke. It actually was episode 250. We don't put them in the titles anymore, but
yeah,
it was episode 250.
So, started with a bunch of depressing news, serious stuff, and then got less serious.
Yeah. Shout out to me for how I paced this episode, though.
Yeah.
I made sure I wasn't. We start here and then we build up,
Yeah.
Real director. Let us know any comments, questions, concerns you have for this episode or any future ones. Tweet at us, join our Discord, explosionnetwork.com/Twitter, explosionnetwork.com/Discord. Let you join, follow, do all the things. If you thought this episode was worth $1, head on over to explosionnetwork.com/support. You can buy us a coffee, support the show. All the money there goes to helping keep the lights on and keep the website running, not help me buy an excess PlayStation 5. Remember, every trophy counts.